what's up, worship teams, leaders, pastors, and friends? Thanks so much for coming back to the Worship Team Training Podcast. Got good buddy right here, Branon Bee, that's going to be on the sixth string. We're going to be covering that in just a second for all you guitar players. And just want to thank you guys for downloading the podcast as usual. Great guests that we have coming up. More on the program. For the video podcast, we have drummers that are coming. Mike Wrench is going to be here soon. Also, we have some keyboard players from both the gospel and also the pop arena. So you don't want to miss that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And be sure to check out our audio podcasts that you can find us on streaming platforms everywhere, iTunes and Spotify, with new great guests coming on there as well. Anyway, let's get to today. Branon Bee. As we talk about guitar playing and we talk about guitarists, we got to think about what are the three things that guitarists are missing. They no longer need to miss these things any longer. But if you ask yourself, what are the best essential things that guitar players can bring to the team? So come on, let's explore together, Branon Bee, and listen through the song so that we can learn how to deliver the right sound for the band's needs. And so Branon Bee, to tell you a little bit about him, producer and songwriter, worship artist. He's not only produced his own solo records, but with different creative projects. Also has produced hundreds of other artists. His solo music is written in a passionate indie pop worship style, but also has a folky influence from his childhood. You can find him on Instagram, Branon Bee Music. Also, he is helping out over at Equipped Worship, and he can also be found in recordings brought by Destiny City Worship. And you can find more of Branon Bee's music on all streaming platforms. Just search his name, Branon Bee. Branon, it's great to have you today, bro. How are you?
Dude, I'm excited to be here with you.
Dude, yeah. I've been looking forward to this for a month. And
dude, we've known each other forever. We haven't hung out in a while, so
it's been since Seattle, and we've known each other for a long time. We taught together, and I'm just so grateful to have you here with our friends watching, listening to the broadcast. So let's get right to it, shall we? So the three things we're talking about what guitar players are missing and what they can better deliver to their team. Several things that we can talk about, and but one thing I know that's passionate for your heart is lead work. So can you talk to us about, what does it mean for a guitar player to construct good leads? Is it important? Are there some things they can do without, or what do you find that's really the most essential for lead work in guitar players?
Yeah. So what I find is that in a lot of worship situations, you only have one electric guitar. And since you only have one electric guitar, they have to choose what they're going to do. Most of the time, they're going to choose a lead guitar part, right? So let's just use this song as an example. Something like that, right? Probably with a little bit more gain. And what I find is that the rest of the band is acoustic guitar, bass, drums, and a pad. And it feels maybe full, but it doesn't feel edgy. And that's kind of the vibe you're wanting for edge. So there's two things that I would recommend doing in a situation like this is instead of just playing the lead like you just did, but try to find a new way to play the lead with a little bit more lower notes included, and then maybe you don't do every single song, or every single part in that lead. So here's a good example. Something like this. So much more low end going on there, right? Or another thing you could do, which is, and I do have pedals down here. All I did is just change my pickup to make it a little bit growlier. I don't know if that's a word, but anyway. And then I just changed the way that the delay hits, which it's more eighth notes as opposed to quarter notes. And that's really all I did. And then I just played full notes, right? And I just played more lower notes with the higher notes. And you can do that in every situation. You can just do straight octaves. But already it sounds beefier, right?
Yeah.
The second thing you could possibly do is you could also put on like a delay pedal, right? Something like that, right? And just like, which is like insane, but it adds a lot more of the low end. And if you do that, then you hit that last note. Just make sure you get down there and hit that low thing, because that's going to add that drive. So that's probably what I would do. I would recommend start thinking rhythm and lead at the same time, and not just lead.
The two things I love that you're doing is that you definitely got a good grasp on the low end and that coming through, and that definitely makes it sound fuller. But you got another thing working for you too, and that's the setting that you're using for your delay. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So right now I have, honestly, I'm using a DD7, which is, I have a DD7. I also have an old vintage Memory Man on my board. And the DD7 is the most classic, normal pedal that anybody could get. But it really is so clean. But what you need to do is you always need to make sure that you are optimizing that tap, right? So I have a separate tap, and I wish I could show you the pictures of my pedal board, but I just don't have it in a situation. Right? And that I probably would do the lead with the slower, the quarter notes, and then I would go right into that eighth note in that chorus.
Yeah.
So I guess that's some of the stuff I do to try to add some extra space.
So you're switching, which is a great technique. You're switching delay patterns between the sections of the song. That brings more texture continuity to it.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
All right. Second thing. When you think about the second thing for guitar players, we can talk about like the master of whale sounds. What is
whale
talk
sounds.
About that?
Yeah. Okay. So this is a big deal. Like we really do. You might have a keyboard player, right? And if that keyboard player is playing piano, and maybe maybe they have a Nord stage 2 or 3 or 4, whatever, and they have a little bit of pad going on in the background. That's cool. It's adding some stuff. But there are sections in the song, especially very worshipful moments of the song, where there's all these different moving pad type things in a record. And so what I do is I'm always doing these whale sound type things, right? Kind of hear my guitar through the microphone, but like if you were to just hear the amp part, you wouldn't hear any of the attack, and you just hear these things kind of flying around and everything. Right. So what I'm doing with that is I have a noon bar wet verb is what I have. I think it's one of the best ones out there. But really, even the RV3, RV2, the Boss reverb ones, or of course you can do Strymon and stuff, and those are amazing too. But anyway, you have basically you try to find that setting where it's literally almost the depth is like as eternal as possible.
Yeah.
And then you do that, you have that, and you kind of scale it back though, and then you have like a delay that's also kind of doing the same thing with the feedback. And so that allows it. So if I were to just play something, it would sound like this. That's pretty intense, right? Yeah. But like when I'm doing even the little, that stuff sounds good in this.
Yeah, sure.
Like it adds texture. So anyway, I think mastering the whale sounds for a worship team or a worship guitar player is like essential, because you're going to add so much to the set if you do that.
Talk real quick about how you're developing the deeper end of the reverb sound by your use of ratio.
Yeah, so this is just the verb, right? The verb is, this is what it sounds like. Oh, I have a delay on there. Sorry, too. Sorry. So it really is, I would say this is like a canyon or a cavern, okay?
Right, cavern.
And yeah. And so, but you'd be surprised, I actually have the mix at about here and not here. So I like a lot of.
So is it more 60% wet?
Yeah, I would say, yeah. That's about right. Yeah, about 60-70% wet. But then I have that depth of how long it is, like forever.
Right.
And it also has like kind of like a little reverb, a little bit of a chorus on it that warbles a little bit.
End, soften up the reverb at the bottom. It's nice.
Yeah. Yep. And then I add a memory man in there, and then basically it's just here's the memory man. Here's the memory man without it. It literally goes forever, right?
Hey, can I hang up now and just come back tomorrow and just hear the same reverb?
Yeah, serious. Exactly. Awesome. So anyway, these are really great pedals, but you actually can do it with literally even the Line 6 H stomps and those kinds of things. They all have these settings.
Right.
They don't do the feedback thing as well, like where it can go on forever and not fall on top of itself, but it is close.
I usually like to, myself, with my Line 6 setup, I like to add an extra reverb pedal and other onboard miscellaneous just to lengthen that, to get that feedback back in, using another overdrive pedal to loop it through, and that usually works good. As we're talking about that, I can't help to think about creating textures, because creating textures is another great tool for guitar players to use. What are some good ways that they can use it? What are some bad ways?
Okay, well, I just told you how much delay and reverb I put on there, but I actually think where sometimes you hear people do is you'll hear them put that same reverb and delay, but on that's lead. Oh, sorry, let me turn it up.
Yeah.
Right? And actually you don't hear any like real notes at all you hear is just noise. So definitely I would say when you're actually playing a part, lessen it. Another thing too is you need to learn how to run overdrives. Here's without my overdrive. Here's like a clean channel. You can hear in there that it has like a little breakup. And right now, I'm not even using an amp. I'm using a Marshall Plexi amp plugin. I have a bunch of amps over here, and I do use them, but for Zoom purposes, I used this.
Yeah,
and it sounds amazing. And so I know what an amp sounds like. So that's one of the reasons why we can make these things sound pretty good.
Yeah.
But you just find that like breakup that's just perfect, so that when you add your drive, you're really only adding a little boost and a little bit of drive, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed to, I hear a lot of guitar players straight go to this sound. Actually, that's even, I don't even have any super out of control, to be honest. So I don't even know if I can even give a good example. But anyway, just too much drive. That actually sounds good to me. So not that I'm happy with that. But a lot of the time it goes straight to distortion, and it's super loud, and it's super not loud, but it's super saturated, and you don't even hear notes anymore. So that's another thing, is learn how to do your gain control on there. You really only need to have like a little bit of gain and a little bit of boost, and you'll actually push your tube amp or your fake tube amp like we're using right now. So I know that it's possible. That electric guitar setting, the second one that I just did.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, play the 70s Southern Rock one.
Yeah, in the tube, in a more tube amp situation, like a real tube amp. I mean, that would literally go out of control in. But right now, it actually sounds decent. So, but it is less control. You just hear kind of a lot of harmonics and
the higher
aren't
frequencies
actually in the chord that you're playing. Which is cool when you're playing that, like rock and roll stuff. But anyway,
hey, dial it,
so yeah,
dial
and
it,
one more thing with yeah.
I was going to say, can you go back to, can you dial it down a little bit, round it out, use that 70s Southern rock, Doobie Brothers kind of feel to it?
Yeah.
Talk about how we can use that in a setting.
This guitar, by the way, is actually got such a lot of darkness in the guitar. I have other guitars that are a lot brighter that I could get that real like crazy rock and roll thing, but I actually use this a lot for worship. But I'll show you what I use it for. Another texture that we were talking about is I actually love doing it with this setting. So like I was earlier doing worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. Yeah, exactly.
It's got that John Mayer rounded out into it.
Yep, exactly. And so I like to use a lot of for textures. I love to use some tremolo.
Right.
And you use your fingers too.
Yep. I mean, that seventh in there. Yep. Very nice. So Branon,
exactly.
You gave us a great 3-step approach to things that we no longer need to miss anymore as guitar players, things that we can deliver to our band. Talk real quick about the deliverance of you. Like what's, now off topic now, we've done music, but what about spiritually? What's your story?
Yeah. My story, I grew up in a singing family, and we did ministry. So I grew up in church, but mostly actually on the road, doing ministry. And I probably the biggest part of my story is that it just didn't sink in. And I decided to just go live my own life for 5 or 6 years. It wasn't until I was 20, almost 23 is when I gave my life to the Lord again. And started living for him, I guess is a better way to look at it. And it did shift and change almost instantly when it happened. But I think, one of the things that I could tell a lot of younger guys, I think there's a lot of young guitar players out there that are like super excited about learning, worship guitar or any instrument. And what I find is that don't get caught up in the doing without the knowing. So what I mean by that is that actually applies to your guitar work and your spiritual work, right? We can do ministry all day, but if we don't know God, it doesn't matter. And that's a big deal. Like really take the time to get to know God and allow God to get to know you. The same thing with the guitar or any instrument is you could just sit there and play and, be on the worship team all the time, but actually try to learn your instrument too, know your instrument. So I think it applies to both. But yeah, anyway, I ended up growing up and I got saved again. And then I toured a ton and was a producer. And I actually have 8 kids and a beautiful wife. So I got a big old fam.
Awesome.
And we are just absolutely just love following the Lord wherever he asks me to go. Probably the biggest thing I tell people on a regular basis these days, because I'm now almost 40. I'm 38, almost 39 actually. I am constantly telling people in their mid 20s that you don't need to go and try to figure out normal life yet. Go and do radical things for Jesus as often and as much as you can. Especially in these days. These
Yeah,
days, we need more people to do radical things for Jesus and not just sign up for a normal situation.
for sure.
And nothing wrong with normal situations, but it's just like when you, especially when you're young and you're ready and you're filled with zeal, go out and do cool things for the Lord. Right now,
Yeah.
Ukraine needs people. I have a friend that has a ton of people that are inviting people to come to Hungary and Poland to come and just love on these people.
Mhm.
Um, you know, don't like don't do your vacation this year. Go to Hungary and go to Poland and go change people's lives, because that's what
Yeah,
God did for you.
that's
So
right.
that would be my biggest advice these days.
Cool. Love it. We talked a lot between musical and spiritual. When you hear Psalms 33:3 that says, "Sing to him a new song, play skillfully with a shout of joy," what significance does that hold for you?
Well, the reminder that a new song is needed. So I think a lot of time at churches these days, we just get used to playing. We're the, kind of karaoke band. Um, and I think challenge your team and people in your church to start writing new songs. Not because we need more new songs in a physical sense, but we do in a spiritual sense, because that is how he says new wineskins, right? And that is not just, that's not really connected to a song
Yeah.
theologically, but it's connected to a new phase and a new way to understand the Lord. It doesn't mean that he changes, doesn't mean that his truth has changed, but the package or the thing around it does change. So I think a new song is a big deal. And then play skillfully. Just remember that skill is all based off of a personal capability. So your skillfulness um, could mean that you have a very high threshold and you need to work hard and try to get really awesome. Some people may never get past this, and they're giving God all their glory with that, right? All the glory. And it's okay that, I feel like a lot of people, they kind of like stop at a spot, but they're not stopping in a natural spot where God wants them to. They're stopping at the spot where it's like it's accepted, right? And at the same time, those that are really amazing, they look at those that are not as amazing as less. And the reality is they have actually reached their potential and they're doing it 100% for the Lord. Their skill, they're playing skillfully for their capability.
Hmm.
So those are probably the two things I could think of with that scripture.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, you and what God has given you, Brandon, have made such a significant impact on the kingdom with your music and the way that you're producing other people, but you're really out there making a difference in the world and helping young people, younger guitar players and worship leaders, and mentoring them. That's something that I've always loved about you, and it's just awesome to see how God continues to use you in that greater capacity.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah. And we're also going to have you back. So we're going to be doing some more things together, which I'm totally pumped about. I'm so glad you're with us.
Yeah,
Awesome.
let's do it. Can't wait.
Awesome. Well, guys, you can find Brandon's music, Branon Bee. Just search him on all platforms that you find streaming music, and as well as socials. Instagram is the best way to connect with him. And also you can go to brandonbeemusic.com. And other than that, Brandon, it's been a blessing.
BranonBeeMinistries.com, actually.
Okay, say that one more time.
BrandonBeeMinistries.com.
Got it, because he does a lot more than just music. So
Yeah.
It's a joy to have you on today, brother. Thanks so much for being here.
Cool. Sounds good, man. God bless you.
Guys, hey, thanks for being with us on the Worship Team Training video podcast. We can't wait to have you back for new episodes coming. And remember, it's not about being perfect, but it's about the Lord Jesus leading you both in life and in worship. See you next time soon. Bye.